Dark winter night, Oregon, 1924. 3 fur trappers vanish without a trace. Months later, their bodies are pulled from beneath the frozen surface of Lava Lake. Shot, bludgeoned, mutilated. Their cabin left behind as if they were interrupted mid-meal. Welcome to haunting justice where crime leaves shadows and justice never sleeps. A bloody hammer, missing furs, skinned foxes, and a fugitive criminal who had threatened revenge. This is the chilling story of the Lava Lake murder case, nearly a century old and still unsolved. It's the fall of 1923. 3 men from Bend, Oregon. Edward Nichols, age 50, an experienced trapper and caretaker of a remote cabin. Roy Wilson, 35, a former Marine, and Dewey Morris, just 25, ventured deep into the Deschutes National Forest. They planned to spend the harsh winter trapping for their base, a lonely log cabin by Lava Lake, owned by a logging contractor named Ed Logan. At first, life is good. Nichols sells a sled full of valuable furs in Bend before Christmas. He's in high spirits. Locals say the men are successful, jovial. On January 5th, 10th, 1924, resort owner Alan Wilcoxon snowshoes by, spends the night with them. He sees nothing unusual. The men are alive, cheerful. By the next morning, January 16th, Wilcoxon leaves. It is the last time anyone sees the trappers alive. Weeks pass. No word from the men. By April 1924, Dewey's brother grows anxious. Others notice abandoned traps, starving animals. A search party heads to the cabin. What they find is eerie. Burned food left on the stove, a table set for dinner, rifles, magazines, heavy clothing, all untouched. An emaciated cat meows from the shadows. It looks like the men simply vanished in the middle of a meal. Outside, it's worse. The fox pen is empty. 4 fox carcasses lie under a tree, 2 expertly skinned, 2 sloppily hacked apart. A blood-stained hammer lies nearby. Sheriff Clarence Adams takes charge. Following a trail, investigators discover a sled stained with blood, pools of frozen gore, clumps of hair, even a human tooth. At the edge of Lava Lake, they spot a strange hole cut in the ice. When the ice thaws, their worst fears come true. The 3 men's mutilated bodies float to the surface. They're dragged ashore, partly decomposed, stinking of death. Autopsies reveal brutality. Wilson shot in the shoulder and head. Nichols blasted with a shotgun, then finished with a revolver. His pocket watch frozen at 9:10. Maurice shot, then beaten with a hammer. It's clear this was murder. Investigators recall a warning. The cabin's owner, Ed Logan, tells him of a man named Lee Collins, a trapper, who had quarreled with Nichols the year before. Collins allegedly swore he'd return and kill Nichols, but Lee Collins isn't his real name. He is Charles Kimzey, a violent criminal with many aliases. A fugitive, a man who once robbed a stagecoach driver, beat him senseless, tied him in wire, and threw him down a well. The victim barely survived. Kimzey is known to be skilled with guns, and in January 1924, just days after the trappers vanished, a man resembling him sold furs in Portland using Nichols' trapping license and the false name Ed Nichols. Suspicion zeroes in on Kimzey. Police issue a massive reward, over $20,000 in today's money, for Kimzey's capture. But he vanishes. For nearly a decade, the Lava Lake murders remain cold. Then, in 1933, Kimzey resurfaces. He's arrested in Montana and hauled back to Oregon. Detectives hope to finally close the case, but Kimzey denies everything. He presents an alibi. He was working on the Moffat Tunnel in Colorado during the winter of 1923 to 1924. Even eating Christmas dinner underground. Records confirm his employment. His alibi appears airtight. Witnesses falter. 2. The fur dealer who once swore the seller was Kimzey now refuses to be certain. The traffic cop says the same. The case collapses. Kimzey is never charged with the Lava Lake murders. Instead, he's sentenced to life for his earlier stagecoach attack. Paroled in 1957, he lives out his years in Idaho, dying in 1976 at age 90. But what if Kimzey wasn't alone? In 2013, researcher Melanie Tupper suggested he may have had help from Ray Jackson Van Buren, a man from Sweet Home, Oregon. Linked to multiple suspicious deaths, some consider Van Buren a possible serial killer. If Kimzey had an accomplice, it could explain the two skinning styles on the foxes, the use of multiple weapons, the overwhelming force. Van Buren himself died by suicide in 1938, leaving behind more questions than answers. Other names surface in whispers. Was it the last visitor, Alan Wilcoxon? Unlikely. He was a respected businessman, with no clear motive. Was it a passing stranger, the dark-haired foreigner seen, asking directions to Lava Lake? Or was it simply Kimzey, angry, greedy, ruthless, who struck alone? Nearly 100 years later, the truth lies buried beneath the snow and ice of Oregon's wilderness. Three hard-working men, Edward Nichols, Roy Wilson, and Dewey Morris, went into the forest to trap fur. Instead, they were brutally murdered and dumped beneath a frozen lake. The main suspect lived out his life in freedom. A possible accomplice took his secrets to the grave. And so, the Lava Lake murders remain one of Oregon's oldest unsolved mysteries. Who do you think killed the trappers? Was it Kimzey, Van Buren, or someone else entirely? Let me know in the comments. Can you solve this case? Comment your theory and subscribe so you never miss the next unsolved mystery.